There we go. There we go, Chris. Oh, hello, Chris.
Oh, hello, Jeremy. I've never felt more like a middle-aged dad than I did in this moment right here. So thank you. Thank you for seeing me. I really appreciate it.
You know what? I see you. I feel you. I kind of am you. We're two peas in a very similar pod.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big pod. I want to be clear. Like, we're not small peas. So, like, together, we're like, we're a super pod.
I'll take the super pod. There's
I'll
going to
take
be
super pod too.
a lot of personality in this pod. Chris Meador, thank you for being here. Thank you
Thanks
for
for having
being
me.
part of the OhHello tribe, part of our community. I know who you are, but why don't you tell our audience who I have the pleasure of speaking with and they're going to be listening and watching?
Awesome. Hi, I'm Chris Meador. And now we're done. Scene close.
See ya.
Hey, see you later. I'm a career strategist. What is a career strategist? Well, it's a title I made up, and that's fun when you're an entrepreneur. You get to make up stuff. Really, what I'm doing is leaning into what's been my superpower and kind of the thing that through the last few years of just exploring my own career, came to this realization of like, I worked in years in marketing. I was a good marketer. I was never going to be a CMO. I made a pivot to recruiting. I was a good recruiter, but there was this like gap I kept on seeing around like people and like people not telling their story. And frankly, the cream that rose were just people who could craft a story. It wasn't because they were stronger or better. And for me, that's kind of why I'm doing this. It's a combination of there was clearly this gap that existed where people weren't necessarily understanding how to communicate their value, connected with the fact that like I just am really cheerful. I mean, I really am. Like this is not fake. This isn't.
Yep, that's who you
I
are.
mean, I take some good drugs to get here, but like, no, I'm kidding. But like, this is who I am, and I felt like there was just this moment. And then for me personally, and I like to call this out because I think, when you hire a coach, it's important to understand their career because you want to understand their thinking and how their thinking will guide you. And for me, the truth I came to was I didn't fit a JD. And there was never going to be a JD that fit me. There was one, and then they closed the role because the company started going poorly. So that tells you everything you need to know. But like, I didn't fit a JD, and I kind of said, you know what, that's okay because the value I have to give doesn't fit in an org by itself. So that's kind of what I'm doing, and why I'm here. And thank you. I just before I throw it back to you, thank you for starting OhHello. Oh, hello.
Oh, hello. Thanks,
I
Chris.
mean, really, like, it's just like, it's such an important moment for folks to have that phone call they can pick up and go like, talk me through this. Let's just talk through this real quick, especially as our infrastructures of professional support has just been obliterated from COVID. And I don't see them coming back anytime soon. And so how do you build that support system that doesn't tell you what to do, but is that true sounding board for when you have to make decisions?
I love that. Thank you, Chris. What excites you about what we collaboratively are building at the company called OhHello?
I mean, I mean, besides, oh, hello. I mean, I can have fun with this all day long, and I probably will. So I'll be here all day. Just jump on back in. What excites me is the access. I think access is incredibly important and is incredibly hard. What excites me is the fact that you built in as a coach a charity feature. I personally enjoy that, because I feel like that's just a part of the business I want to get into. And frankly, that's hard hygiene to get into because it's hard to give away money you just earned, but it's the right thing to do. And I like there's a emotion to be created there. But what I also like is just that recognizing we're in this moment. We're in this moment where anything is imaginable with video. I mean, it's crazy. Anything is imaginable with video. And just like to have a moment and to get real people, not a CEO of a exited company who's going to be like, you're great, but like actually get people who are like, no, I want to help you with a problem. And that's pretty neat.
Thank you so much. I love that you just made the reference of the whole purpose of OhHello is not to have the unreachables be part of this, because the unreachables have done something very different than the vast majority of us, than call it 98, 99% of us. And to make everyone accessible and to create a sense of community, to be able to just real people have real questions and they want real answers. They don't want fluff. They don't want bullshit. And so
Yeah.
what's really important is also getting non-bullshitters on this kind of platform that want to be able to make an impact. When you
Yep.
when you think about mentorship and when you think about your career and as a dad, as someone who's active in your community, as someone who's worked at some amazing companies, as a marketer, as a recruiter, as a community builder, what what excites you about mentorship in
Yeah.
general?
What excites me is seeing something in someone that they don't yet see in themselves. That is such a magical moment. It's such a magical moment when you're like, when I'm talking to someone and they're like, my career makes no sense. No sense. Like, I just did this, and like, I'm getting declines and all that. And they're so frustrated. And then I see these beautiful threads that I'm like, what about this thread? What about the way that you've led that's cut across? Like, why are you not thinking through that? Why are you not like, how do you see that? I also, I mean, and frankly, that is that's beautiful. I mean, it's just beautiful when then you see someone then see what you see, or frankly, see something deeper than you could have ever seen. Because I just know someone from talking like this. I'll do the best that I can, but my job is just to help them be a reflection and for help them to see not just what I see, but what they can be. And just when folks hit that moment, it's just the like, okay, okay. And that for me has always been for what matters for me as a mentor, but frankly, what matters for people who mentor me is to see not just to see where I've been, but to see where I can go and to be willing to then not just hold my hand, but also say, you're not doing it right. You got to rethink about this. Hey, the best way, like I'm going to kind of tell you what's going on. And that just is like, that's, that's just what I try and bring in everything I do in mentorship.
I love that. Who are some of the people that have had that kind of impact on you? Some of your mentors, some people that you want to be
Yeah.
able to shout out to?
Yeah, I'm gonna shout out two people. My first person I worked for is a woman named Sarah Personette. She was the chief customer officer at Twitter and a bunch of whole other jobs. I mean, she'll be the president one day of the world. Like, I mean, she's just
Amazing.
incredible.
Yep.
But what's incredible about Sarah is her kindness, is her ability to recognize that all people are equal and all people deserve kindness no matter where they're at, and not just like so valuable. And then I gotta do one other shout out to Jess Jensen. Jess Jensen is now the CMO of Indeed. Just stupidly smart, like one of the smartest people you ever meet. But why I love her,
Yeah.
she's weird as fuck.
I
And
love that.
and she has owned it, and she's brought it forward, and it's her authentic self. And she really taught me that, like, be you, be you. And if you, being you are not seen, then go somewhere else. Then you're not, then like it's not your fault. It's like, but be you. And I just like her authenticity, her realness, just it really, for me, it's what I strive to be.
So, especially from the feedback and just from the aura that Jess gave off in terms of being authentic, being yourself. Is that what helped you decide to make that pivot in your career and say, I'm going to create yes in thinking? I'm going to be,
Yeah.
because if someone is basically helping you make that self realization, the self actualization, and saying, just fucking be authentic, just be yourself,
Yeah.
do what you feel good doing.
Well, it's a thread you pull. It's a thread you pull. So if you start being authentic, what starts happening is you start to have to start asking yourself some really hard questions. And for me, I asked myself a few years ago. I did a big reflection, and the question or the realization I came to was just because I can do something doesn't mean I want to do something. And the minute that hit, a minute I realized that, it just completely wonderfully fucked up my career. And because it made me realize that I had to figure something out, because I am an elder millennial, woohoo, elder millennials, who is type A, who overperforms, who will do any task being given to me except running a marathon. And even then I'll find a way to do it. Just might take me a little more time. And I would say yes to everything. I'd say yes to everything, because that is what we were conditioned. It's what I was conditioned to be. And suddenly I hit a day where I realized that, like, I don't feel good. I don't. And how do I come back and understand, like, how do I feel good? And I don't just mean that from like a personal standpoint, like that's good therapy to do. We're talking professional therapy. So like, that's very different. And for me, what I realized was like, I wasn't walking away from the value. I wasn't getting value from the work I was doing. Really hard thing to realize. Really hard thing to
Absolutely.
realize, especially when you got to pay a mortgage the next day. And so it was really that thread being pulled that I'm still pulling right now. That's fun. We were chatting right before we started, which is, what am I learning? Every day I learn something new as we pull on this thread. I feel a little bit like a magician.
Yeah.
Some days it looks a little flimsy. Some days it's some beautiful gold. But we're going to see where it takes me.
So as you continuously pull that thread, occasionally there's going to be unraveling, occasionally a button pops out, occasionally you realize that there's some lint, and you go through those excruciating circumstances and life events of hills and valleys. Something that we talked about was
Yeah.
being in the middle and keeping yourself in that middle realm.
Yeah.
Why don't you
It's a
just
piece of advice I'll actually share that Sarah shared with me
amazing?
early in my career, which is the idea of ride the middle. The highs are the highs, the low are the lows. Both are going to come. And you can ride that roller coaster, and we all ride that roller coaster. But sometimes you got to go, I'm just going to ride that middle. The high, high five, move on. The low, that really fucking sucked. Move on. And it's really part of what drove me to name my company Yes and Thinking. Was besides having trained as an actor, which is, ironically, I left acting so I could have health insurance, and now look where I am. But it's part of the reason I named it what I did is because there's just moments where you just gotta say yes and that you don't have a choice. And I just think in general we don't have a choice. We just have to say yes, and now here's what I'm going to do with that. It's not yes, I'm going to take it on and I'm going to be that person. It's the accepting of the, yeah, I'm going to hold space for this truth we're dealing with. Whether that space is a bad review I got, whether that space is I'm getting pushed out of a company, you got to hold space for those hard truths, because there's always an and out of it. There always is. And if you don't hold space for the truth, you can't solve it. Instead, you're working against it. And it really, to me, is like so much what drives what I'm trying to drive as I move forward is holding that space and holding all those truths so that I can then really create plans that make sense with all the information. Because a career is a business plan. It's just a business plan that we don't think to put on paper. Well, I'm putting mine on paper now. And I think, frankly, more people need to be putting theirs on paper.
Amazing. Chris, this has been great. Any parting words of wisdom for our OhHello tribe, for the community, for those that are listening and watching?
Yeah. It's hard right now. It's hard. It's just the truth. We got to hold that space that it's hard. And also, there is so much opportunity. And I want people to just stop. If they're on like month 9 of a job search and they're like, I give up. If they're on month 1 of a job search, if they're about to leave a company or whatnot, go build a plan and work it. Remove your name from it. Don't take the emotion out of it. Build the plan. Build your plan and work your plan. If you are a marketer looking for a job and you send one email, would you do the same if you're a marketer looking for a customer? No, you wouldn't. Follow your own advice. If you aren't feeling good about a job, don't go for it. It doesn't matter if you're not getting interviews. Going down and taking the energy down a bad interview loop isn't going to actually make you better. It's going to tear you down in so many ways. And I just think you gotta work that plan, and it's hard and it's discipline, but it's the thing that's going to get all of us through this moment that we're in right now. And I truly believe that's the differentiator that people have. That's the differentiator I see in the market.
Amazing.
Is folks who realize I got to work myself.
Amazing, yeah. Chris. Well, this has been fantastic. The takeaway over the past minute or so is just remove your name from yourself, from the plan, and just be authentic and just fucking do it. Just go do it. Chris, this has been awesome. Thank you so much to our OhHello listeners, viewers, everybody. Thank you. Chris, have a great day. We're so excited to have you on the platform. You rock, my friend.
Thank you so much. Thank you for building this. I'm not sure I want to say thank you for this music, but I'll dance anyway.